The Boxing Casuals.
Hello and welcome back to the Boxing Casuals, the one-stop shop for all things boxing. It has been a while, but we are here. My name is Sam. I'm joined as ever by Chris. How you doing, Chris?
Yeah, not too bad. Good evening, guys. Thanks for coming back. It has been a little while, but like I say in the last video, life does get in the way of these things, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Life happens, but boxing never stops. Although it did over the Christmas period, Chris. It really did slow down.
Yeah, it certainly did. It made the although it's the Christmas period is supposed to be a holiday, it made it seem a little dull. I don't know. A nice bit of boxing would have been, slap bang in the middle of the Christmas period would have been nice.
Agreed. I mean, you have Boxing Day football, but you don't, I get it because for a boxer to go into a fight, they've got to be in a camp for 3 months before or whatever, haven't they? So, yeah, I can see why they don't do that. They don't want to ruin Christmas. But yes, as a fan, it would be brilliant just to sit there and get a nice bit of entertainment over that period.
Well, anyway, we've got some big fights coming up on the weekend. Chris Eubank Jr. What do you think of that? What's your thoughts on the upcoming fight?
I'm really excited. Me and you, I think whether or not it got posted, I think the last time we recorded, we alluded to this fight could be a potential, and I'm quite glad it's come out, it's come to fruition. Because I think in terms of style, personality, everything really, these two clash, and that only spells fireworks for me.
I think so. Yeah, I agree. The difficulty of this one is, I think it could go either one or two ways, which is it's a banger from the start. Chris Eubank, because Liam Smith's going to bring the pressure, and he's going to have a high guard. He's going to bring, his body shots. He's going to bring his quick jab. He's quite crafty with his skills. And Chris Eubank can either meet him in the centre of the ring and they'll go toe to toe, or he's going to be doing this Roy Jones Jr. beta style. Not quite Roy Jones Jr., but Roy Jones Jr. from Wish, popping a jab and trying to be elusive. It didn't work out too well. He still won the Liam Williams fight, but the second half of the fight, he didn't look crispy or smooth at all. He was being outworked, and he can't afford to do that against Liam Smith, I don't think.
No, I think you're right. It's like you said, it could be an absolute banger from the get go. I think Chris bringing back Roy, obviously for Conor Ben, which we won't go into too much, but he was going to have his dad train him. He's brought Roy in for this. He's obviously doing the whole Chris Eubanks thing in the build up. He's just winding the absolute hell out of Liam Smith, and you can tell it is annoying him. Whether or not it's going to affect him, but it is annoying him.
Well, despite what he says, I mean, he's probably playing to it as well a bit, Liam Smith. Although he's constantly saying that it's not getting to him, but you would do. Chris Eubank, he's got this air of arrogance about him, having not achieved a great amount in boxing. He's kind of, to someone who like Liam Smith, who's won a world title, you probably think, just pipe down a little bit, son. Just turn it down a little bit.
But I just don't, because he's this whole Conor Ben saga has done wonders for Eubanks. Like he's been thrown into the public eye, as it were. Obviously, his dad's name's always been there, and that's kind of. I'm not going to fall under that camp. I think he does have some skill. He wouldn't have got where he did without some skill, but his dad's name has definitely helped him.
Definitely, yeah. But I don't think. Yeah, I agree with you about the Conor Ben thing. It's sort of turned Chris Eubank from the bad guy and the comical villain to now, sort of unsung hero of boxing. Someone who's clean and dedicated to the sport. Whereas now Conor Ben is this, back alley cheat, having to gain advantage to beat his opponents. So yeah, that's worked out well for him, and the fact that he's still calling for the fight, despite these negative tests, makes him look even more, gives me a better light, even more so.
He looked absolutely horrible at 157 or whatever it was he went down to. That photo that surfaced.
He posted that video. Yeah, it didn't look healthy at all, did it?
It's, I don't want to just jump on a bandwagon and say, he would have died, he would have whatever, but he certainly wouldn't have been going in there. 60% is an understatement, I would say.
Yeah, no, I concur. So, where do you think this one's going to go then? How do you reckon this one's going to play out?
It's hard to call because up until this point, I've been Eubanks. But when you put them up against each other, you got, if you put the records next to each other, similar sort of records. Eubanks is a bit younger. Smith's definitely had the better opponents. There's no doubt in my mind. He's got more ring IQ. It's tough. It depends how the fight goes. I think, as you said, Liam's going to bring it pretty intense pretty early. He'll keep walking him down, feinting, just throw it. He's not going to throw a huge amount, but he will just keep the pressure on Chris, making Chris exert himself and give off like twitchiness.
No, okay.
It depends how Chris comes back with that, because like you said, if he goes all Roy Jones-esque and starts popping shots and moving, then I don't know. All right, to simplify what I'm saying, I think Eubanks on points is my decision. I don't think either of them have got bad chins. Liam Smith is quite susceptible to an uppercut. If you watch that last fight he had against Hassan Mokino, I think it was, where the guy took a knee, which is a bit controversial. Yeah, he didn't. Obviously, his chin's not tested, but he was so susceptible to that uppercut that he can get punched. He's a brilliant fighter. I just think it will come down to gas tanks, mate. That's my opinion. Shoot me if you disagree, but I'll stick with my guns. If I'm wrong, though, I think the real winner here is the fans, mate, because I just can't see this being a bad fight.
Yeah, it looks like it's a good fight. It's a good fight. I'm looking forward to it.
What's your decision?
Well, my decision, I think it's difficult to say because Liam Smith has got a come forward, high guard. He's tricky in some certain circumstances. But if Chris is going to be walking backwards and popping a jab, it can make the fight very, very boring to watch. And I'm not saying that Liam Smith hasn't got the skills to overcome that. He probably has. But if Eubank's not going to be engaging like we expect him to, it could be kind of tricky. So I'm kind of erring on a tight Eubank decision, but I'm kind of thinking Liam Smith. He's been in there with some top guys. If we look at their records here, Liam Smith, he's fought Liam Williams twice. I know Chris Eubank's fought Liam Williams, but this is when Liam Williams was on the come up. He gave Williams his first and second losses. He fought Jaime Mongoya in a fight where he lost, but he did have to show a pretty good showing of himself. He showed a lot of skills, a lot of heart. He absolutely destroyed Eggington. He fought Magomed Kurbanov, who's now the WBO, one of the WBO mandatories, and a fight he should have won, but he was in Russia for that fight. And I probably had Liam Smith 1 or 2 rounds up, and when he didn't get the decision on that one, I was quite surprised. He absolutely destroyed Anthony Fowler. Destroyed Jesse Vargas. He put a good showing against Saul, but at the end of the day, it's Canelo, isn't it? You're not going to knock out Canelo.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that sort of ring IQ, ring experience would play into any argument for Smith winning. Because again, I am saying Eubank, but like I could quite easily be wrong. Sometimes you've got a good idea of where it will go. Like I think this stylistically, it depends how they come out on the night. I think he's got the time in the ring with bloody good opponents, which Eubank doesn't really have. He lost his only shot, and that was against Groves, wasn't it?
Oh, he lost his title shot. Yeah. So he's won the IBO, which is it is what it is. But if you look back over Eubank's record, I mean there are some good names on there. Dmitry Churdinov was a good win at the time. He was undefeated at the time. Looking back on it now, Churdinov's racked up quite a few losses since then. After that Eubank fight, he went downhill quickly. But he fought Gary O'Sullivan when he had one loss, destroyed him pretty much. He put Nick Blackwell in hospital in a coma, retired him on the stool. Arthur Abraham was a good win, but Abraham was way past it, and no more Baltor and just eating jabs all night long. That Yildirim win in the Super Series tournament sort of aged better. The further that fight was away, the better it kind of got, because he destroyed Yildirim in 3 rounds, and then Yildirim went on to do what he did against Anthony Durrell. I know he lost that fight, but it was only because of the head clash.
Yeah, and I mean Billy Joe.
The Billy Joe fight. The Billy Joe fight was actually a good fight. A lot of people say that he got schooled, and he did for the first 5-6 rounds. then he started to outwork Billy. That's why the decision ended up being quite as tight as it was. If you look back at the cards, you'll see it was a split: 116, 113, 114, 115, 113, 115. Because in that second half of that fight, he came back. He showed a lot of stamina, a lot of energy, put the pressure on Billy. And if there was a 15 rounder, he probably would have won that fight. But early on, he got schooled. He did fight Matvey Korobov in one of his only 2 fights for Showtime. And in that fight, Korobov had to retire because of a shoulder injury, and I think he's retired now since. But if that fight had gone any longer, I could have seen him being schooled against Korobov as well, who's a very well-schooled southpaw. But he got called off, so there's no ifs, buts, and maybes on that one.
How do you think Liam Smith will fare going up slightly in weight? I don't think it'll be too much of an issue for him. But
what is this? Is this a middleweight?
Yeah, it's a middleweight. So it's Chris on that, in that sense, Chris is comfortable. He's at his natural kind of weight. Don't know, I think he probably walks around a bit heavy, but he doesn't really walk around, does he? He's always in shape.
Who's that? Chris Eubank?
Yeah.
It's like he had a couple of fights at middleweight, but not any fights of any substance. All of his fights of substance have been super welter. So it shouldn't be too difficult. It's only one weight up. It's not like Chris is some mass monster who puts on a huge amount of size after.
No, he's, like I said, I think he walked around at a similar weight. Smith looks good at 160 as well. Like if you saw him in the press workout, it doesn't look like he's weighing him down at all. He looks like he's quite happy with that weight.
No, either way, it should be a good one. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
That's on a boxer card on Sky, isn't it, this weekend?
Sky box office.
Is the box office?
Yeah, I'm just looking at this as we speak. £19.95, which I would say isn't the worst. We've definitely paid more. I paid for the last Fury fight. Don't get me started on that.
You paid for that.
So yeah, £19.95. Apparently the whole show starts from about 5 p.m. That's usually free on Sky, and then the televised usually goes from about 7 p.m. I would imagine they're always a bit sketchy, but ring walk's expected at around 10 p.m. for the main event. However, Chris did just want to talk about the undercards.
Yeah, let's just touch on the undercard. There's a couple of good fights in that one. So the co-main, I believe it's the co-main. You can never really get the right order on BoxRec, but it's a domestic clash between Echo Esserman, the undefeated Frank Warren fighter. So yeah, to actually get him on the boxer card, it was a bit of a big deal, I suppose. But he's fighting Chris Congo, one of Dillian White's chargers. He's managed by Dillian White. We've seen him go up against Portsmouth's Michael McKinson. He lost a close split decision. It should be a good one. 2 domestic level skilled fighters. Potentially could be European level fighters. A bit of needle in this one.
Yeah, I've heard that. A bit of lemon.
Yeah, Echo Esserman recently had a good win over Samuel Antwi. He had a good win over Darren Tetley on the Fury White undercard. He beat Chris Jenkins pretty convincingly. Who else is a good guy? Tyrone Nurse, but most domestic level fighters beat Tyrone Nurse these days. And Chris Congo, he had a good win over Luther Clay, again another domestic level fighter. That was one of those matchroom cards, in Eddie's back garden kind of thing. But apart from that, he hasn't really beat anyone of note. But he's a skilled fighter, so it should be an interesting one. Yeah,
and then obviously on there you've got the old Fraser Clark fighting again.
Yeah, Fraser Clark is getting back in there.
I like him as a person. I like him as a pundit. I've said this to you before, haven't I? Like, he's really good. He's got good boxing knowledge. He's great to listen to. He's a bit slow. Is that fair to say?
I think that's just heavyweights in general. I've taken a few to the head.
No, I meant his body movement. I didn't mean like how he speaks.
Oh,
yeah.
No, me too. That's definitely what I meant as well. But he's a good fighter. He's a good fighter. Although I've seen him, he's not been tested yet. I do recall seeing a clip of him fighting Joe Joyce, and he got seriously hurt in that one in the amateurs.
That is on the YouTube. I've watched that one. So watch that. Take a watch, guys.
But let's skip over that. We've got Richard Riakporhe returning against Krzysztof Glowacki. Now, you might remember Krzysztof Glowacki fought Lawrence Okolie for the WBO World Cruiserweight title. This is where Okolie won his title. Cody, I think, knocked him out in the second or third round with a pretty spectacular knockout. Sixth round, in fact, it was the sixth round, but he was pretty much dominating the fight up until then, anyway. But Glowacki's one of these. He was a previous world title holder. He fought Bradis in a very, really strange fight. That was really bizarre. The bell went, the ref didn't stop it. There was elbows flying, all sorts. But he's beat people like Maxim Vlasov. We saw the trouble Maxim Vlasov gave Joe Smith Jr. in the light heavyweight clash. Probably should have won that fight. It was gifted a loss. Beat Marco Huck, beat Steve Cunningham. So yeah, it should be an interesting one. It should be a good test for Richard Riakporhe. A lot of people, there's a lot of questions about his actual skill. We know he's powerful, but can he put it together in a big fight? So we'll see how that one plays out. We've also got the return of Joseph Parker. He's fighting Jack Massey. Now, Jack Massey is the only person I think Richard Riakporhe hasn't knocked out. He's only losses to Richard Riakporhe. But in the end, that fight was quite a sloppy affair. Both guys running out of energy. Not a lot between them. Obviously, Riakporhe was a few rounds up at the time, but it was a real messy affair by the end of it.
Do you not find that crazy? Like that, I know he's a boxer fighter and all that, but Parker just headlined about, what was it? His last time out was losing to Joyce.
Yeah, but the thing is, he took a serious knockout in that fight. When you get knocked out like that, you can't dive back in there on a headlining event. All that pressure. He needs to get a good win.
I'm almost surprised to see him out, mate. Like, I'm almost surprised.
Yeah, no, I agree, because it wasn't that long ago, was it, that fight, the Joe Joyce?
And he's not been down before, and he took a heavy knockout as well.
Yeah, it was heavy. It was September, so it was only 4 months ago, which is bizarre, because when you take a knockout like that, it's normally 6 months you've got to wait, I thought.
I think it's just we're used to heavyweights being inactive. Like, yeah. I don't know. Look, he's been medically cleared, so he's obviously all right to fight, but, let's just hope he gets through this. He should do.
He should do. Jack Massey's coming up from cruiserweight, and he hasn't really fought anyone on the level that Joe Parker is. He's obviously fought Riakporhe, but we're still yet to determine where his level actually is. So it should be an interesting one. It's more of a intriguing fight than anything else. If everything plays out, Parker should win this quite convincingly. A knockout early on, I imagine, but we'll see. We'll see how this one plays out. The rest of the card just filled up with prospects and filler fights as usual. But
you know what? First pay-per-view of the year. I'm not disappointed. That's quite a good card. Yeah,
it's quite a good one. Yeah, looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to it. Yeah.
We'll try and summarise up now, guys, just so we can keep this under 20 minutes. But long story short, Chris and I are both saying, by the sounds of it, Eubanks. I will say split decision. I don't think it's going to be unanimous.
No, I'm going to err on the side of it being close. I'm not going to decide a winner because I think Liam Smith has got the skill and experience to win this, but I'm just unsure of what kind of game plan Eubank's going to bring to it.
I wouldn't disagree with that, but I'm playing the game fairly, Chris. All right, cool. Well, guys, we'll be sure to update you. We'll do a reaction video to this. We got that planned in. Like, comment, subscribe as ever, and if there's anything you want us to talk about, feel free. We like talking to people. We like to know what you guys are thinking. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
The Boxing Casuals.